How many times have you read something and still struggled to explain it clearly? Real learning is not just hearing words. It begins when you can take what you've received and say it back in your own words with clarity. That is the breakthrough behind the Paraphrasing Method by One Love Media SKN. This practical manual reveals why exposure is not understanding and why paraphrasing is the ultimate sign of genuine learning. Inside, you'll discover the 4 stages of real learning and a step-by-step method to move from confusion to personal understanding. It's for students, teachers, and leaders, anyone who wants to stop collecting information and start owning it. If you've ever said, "I know I read it, but I can't explain it," this book was written specifically for you. Stop consuming, start understanding. Get your copy of the Paraphrasing Method today.
The Paraphrasing Method, a practical manual for real learning and understanding. Title page. The Paraphrasing Method, a practical manual for real learning and understanding. A manual on how real learning happens, how understanding is tested, and how knowledge becomes usable when a learner can express it clearly in their own words. Dedication. This manual is dedicated to every learner who has ever sat before information and wondered why exposure did not become understanding. It is dedicated to every child who was told to study but was never taught how to learn. It is dedicated to every parent, teacher, speaker, trainer, and thinker who wants knowledge to become clear, useful, and alive. And it is dedicated to the simple but powerful truth that learning begins to deepen when meaning can be spoken again in one's own words. Preface. The modern world is overflowing with information, yet genuine understanding remains rare. People listen all day, read constantly, watch endlessly, and still struggle to explain with clarity what they have received. Many can repeat sentences they have heard. Many can recognize terms that sound familiar. Many can even pass through educational systems carrying notebooks, certificates, and memories of lessons. Yet beneath all of this, one question remains. Did they truly learn? This manual was born from a simple insight. One of the strongest signs of real learning is the ability to paraphrase what has been taught. When a learner can take in an idea, grasp its meaning, and express it again in clear, personal language, something important has happened. The information has begun to move from outside the learner to inside the learner. It has started to become understanding. Paraphrasing is not the whole of learning, but it is one of the clearest windows into it. It reveals whether the mind has merely encountered words or has actually received meaning. It shows whether the learner is dependent on borrowed language or capable of personal expression grounded in understanding. It exposes confusion, strengthens memory, builds confidence, and prepares knowledge for use. This manual does not treat learning as a narrow classroom activity. Learning happens in homes, churches, workplaces, books, conversations, training sessions, life experiences, and private reflection. The ability to paraphrase meaningfully is valuable everywhere human beings are called to understand, remember, communicate, and act wisely. The purpose of this manual is practical. It is meant to help learners become more active, parents guide children more effectively, teachers assess understanding more clearly, and thinkers develop a stronger relationship with knowledge itself. It argues that exposure is not enough, memorization is not enough, and repetition is not enough. Real learning requires engagement with meaning. At the center of this manual is a simple test. Can you say it back in your own words? That question may sound small, but it reaches into the heart of learning. It separates recognition from understanding, contact from internalization, and performance from mastery. What follows is a complete guide to understanding why paraphrasing matters, how it works, how to practice it, how to teach it, and how to use it as part of a broader method for real learning. This manual is not about making learning harder, it is about making learning real. Introduction. Why this manual matters. There is a widespread misunderstanding about learning. Many people assume that because they were present while information was being delivered, learning must have taken place. They attended the class, listened to the lecture, watched the video, read the chapter, or sat through the meeting. That experience feels close enough to learning that the difference is often ignored. But presence is not the same as understanding. A person can sit before information and remain unchanged by it. Words can pass through the ears without settling in the mind. Images can pass before the eyes without becoming insight. Notes can be copied without meaning being grasped. Content can be consumed without knowledge being formed. This is one of the great educational confusions of our time. Exposure is often mistaken for learning. Familiarity is mistaken for understanding. Repetition is mistaken for mastery. This manual challenges that confusion. It argues that learning must be measured not by what was delivered, but by what was understood. A learner has not truly learned simply because they encountered information. A learner has learned when meaning has been received, processed, and made usable. That raises an important question. How can we tell whether real learning has happened? There are many signs of learning, but paraphrasing is one of the clearest. When a learner can explain something in their own words, it shows they are not merely clinging to the original sentence. They have reached for the meaning behind the wording and tried to rebuild it through personal understanding. That act matters. It changes the learner from a passive receiver into an active participant in knowledge. It forces attention. It exposes gaps. It strengthens memory. It creates flexibility. It prepares the mind to apply, discuss, and teach. This is why paraphrasing deserves serious attention. It is not a small classroom trick. It is one of the practical disciplines through which real learning can be tested and deepened. This manual matters because many people have never been taught how to learn. They were told to memorize. They were told to revise. They were told to listen carefully. They were told to finish assignments. But they were not always taught how to test understanding, how to process meaning, and how to make knowledge their own. Paraphrasing helps answer that need. The method presented here is simple enough for a child to use, strong enough for an adult to benefit from, and broad enough to apply across school, business, faith, parenting, self-education, and daily life. At its heart, this manual teaches one shift. Do not only ask what was said, ask what it means. Then say it back in your own words. That is where this journey begins. Chapter 1.
How many times have you read something and still struggled to explain it clearly? Real learning is not just hearing words. It begins when you can take what you've received and say it back in your own words with clarity. That is the breakthrough behind the Paraphrasing Method by One Love Media SKN. This practical manual reveals why exposure is not understanding and why paraphrasing is the ultimate sign of genuine learning. Inside, you'll discover the 4 stages of real learning and a step-by-step method to move from confusion to personal understanding. It's for students, teachers, and leaders, anyone who wants to stop collecting information and start owning it. If you've ever said, "I know I read it, but I can't explain it," this book was written specifically for you. Stop consuming, start understanding. Get your copy of the Paraphrasing Method today.